Blog Talk Radio.
Let's go. It's time to attack. We the smartest, fastest, and most vicious. We gonna put them in their place. We coming on. We're gonna play. And he's gonna fire deep. Puts there inside the 10. Throws Superman. Good route by Edelman. Now they come on a reverse to the near side on a quick run.
What's up, NFL football fans, and welcome to another edition of Cover 2 with McMillan and Purdue, the show where we give you nothing but NFL football analysis. Look, man, we're excited. The season is literally right around the corner. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Devin McMillan. I'm here at the round table with my partner in crime, Fred Purdue. Fred, what's up, good bro?
What's going on, man, for the how many times? Not one, not two, not three. I'm sorry, LeBron, I'm quoting you all the time. Just saying, the people want to hear me, but, you know, they want to hear us. But, I don't know, the powers that be just don't want us to talk about the best teams in the league. It is what it is.
Yeah. It happens, man. You know, they want to shut us down. They heard that we rock with, you know, we stand with Cap. So, you know, they don't really like that.
No, they don't like that too much. Hey.
We, you know, we're in the midst of our NFL preview series. This is show number 4 of the series, and this is the last of our team and divisional previews. After this, the last show we're going to do is our predictions for everything that's going to happen this season in the league. So, you know, we'll see if our predictions match up to all of the crap that we talked in this preview. But let's jump right into this preview. The last 2 divisions that we're going to talk about, the AFC East and the NFC East. So we're going to start with the AFC East. You know, Fred knows that we got to start off with the runner-up division. He's not going to hear the end of that until, you know, we're no longer the champs in Philadelphia.
365 days.
Yes, sir. But we're going to start with the AFC East, and as you guys know from the previous shows, we do it in inverse order. So we're going to start with the New York Jets, who finished last season with a whopping record of 5-11. Let's start off with some of their additions, subtractions, some of their draft picks. They added Teddy Bridgewater, but, you know, he's no longer in the fold. Isaiah Crowell, running back Thomas Rawls, Charles Johnson, Antonio Garcia, Travis Swanson, Spencer Long, Henry Anderson, Courtney Upshaw, Avery Williamson, Kevin Minter, Kevin Pierre-Louis, Tremaine Johnson, Cairo Santos. Like, the Jets were very busy during the offseason. The draft, we all know that they drafted quarterback Sam Darnold in the first round, Nathan Shepard, nose tackle, and tight end Chris Herndon. Some of their notable offseason losses: running back Matt Forte, tight end Austin Seferian-Jenkins, center Wesley Johnson, defensive end, defensive tackle Muhammad Wilkerson, Coney Ely, Demario Davis, Chandler Catanzaro. Now, is there anything from the additions, the losses, the draft picks, or the coaching staff that you want to add to what I just said?
Nothing to add. Just I'm a little optimistic about this team. Todd Bowles, this is his make or break season, unfortunately.
Well, since Sam Darnold was the number 1 pick.
And you forgot Terrell Pryor. I'm sorry, you forgot Terrell Pryor.
Yeah, not really. But sorry. Okay, I forgot Terrell Pryor. He was getting punked in the first preseason game and against the Washington professional football team. Well, some of the practices, because they were doing a joint team practice. Anyway, since Sam Darnold was the number 1 pick, of course we're going to talk offense because, by all accounts, it's his team now. You know, Teddy Bridgewater was traded because Sam Darnold looks like he's going to be the guy early. So what do you see right off the bat for the New York Jets offense this upcoming season?
I think they'll protect the football, run the ball. Typical thing, what you see with this team. They want to be a physical football team up front. They want to be an old-school, smash-mouth team, protect Sam Darnold at all costs. I would not start Sam Darnold. But why not keep Teddy Bridgewater, run him into the ground, let Sam Darnold, let him learn from all of Teddy Bridgewater's mistakes. And by the way, and I know this is cliche, but bridge the gap to next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's because it's easier to even use that cliche when you've already chosen your guy. You know what I'm saying? Some teams bring in a one-year guy like a Teddy Bridgewater, and most teams a Sam Bradford because he's like everybody's bridge. They bring that guy in sometimes before they even draft the heir apparent, the person that he's bridging for. So at least in this situation, if you did want to bridge to Sam Darnold, you already have Sam Darnold. So it would have been a good idea to maybe start a veteran quarterback, let Sam Darnold learn for a year. But, we're also talking about Todd Bowles here, who is probably coaching for his job. So, I don't know if he has time to wait on anything that he thinks could be the future of this New York Jets team. So what did he have around him? What's the rookie got to work with?
Offensively, it's a bunch of guys. I mean, Terrell Pryor, the name sounds great. I really, really like Jermaine Kearse, nice slot receiver from Seattle. He'll finally get his first full season there. Bilal Powell, I've had a little bit of experience with him. Got a chance to see him since his high school days. But you add Isaiah Crowell, a tough running back who can he's explosive, but you just haven't seen him with a really good offensive line. This one's not much better. For Robbie Anderson is the guy that I really want to pay attention to. It's contract time for him soon, so we'll see how he does. Other than that, I mean, Sam Bradford, I've said it again. Flag me. 15 yards in play. Sam Darnold is going to have to he's going to have to carry a team early, and that's what the expectation is. I mean, ew. You might end up seeing. But, from the preseason, I have some hope for him. He looks like he can be pretty accurate. He can move around with the ball. I hope they just don't expect him to be the savior from stage one.
Yeah, might be a situation where you think, there's a possibility that a little too much pressure can be heaped on this young guy right out of the bat. Robbie Anderson, you mentioned him earlier. Doesn't he have some legal issues floating over his head?
Yeah, he's got a few legal issues that NFL players, you have nothing else better to do but go to practice, go out have a little fun and go play on Sunday or Thursday. That's it, and collect the check. Stop getting in trouble.
All right.
That's my public service.
Public service announcement, everybody. All right, so on the defensive side of the ball, this isn't, your Rex Ryan Jets defense like last season. They had, even though they improved from 2016 to 2017, they had some notable holes in the defense. A lot of that, you could probably blame on the front office, when some of their older guys left the team, they didn't do a lot to upgrade, especially back there in the secondary. What do you see from the defense in 2018?
Much improved. Got to start off with Tremaine Johnson coming over from LA. Really good pickup. You have your secondary is pretty set. Jamal Adams looks like he's a guy. You also have Marcus May on the back end. Those two guys are going to be booking safeties for a long time. You still got Morris Claiborne, who turned out to be he's a lot better than we thought he'd be. I mean, he's not an elite corner, but he'll do. Avery Williamson will fill in that middle backer spot. Leonard
if
Williams
he can stop getting injured.
Yeah, exactly. and Leonard Williams, I've seen a lot from him, but I've seen really good, on the verge of really good, but I haven't seen elite. I haven't seen anything that resembles the expectations or anything of what the comparisons were for him when he came out of USC. So we'll see what he does. Defensive line isn't great. Definitely not that great. He's the only one out there. I still want to see more from Darren Lee, the other inside backer. He keeps teasing me with really good play, but it's not consistent. I think this defense will be like they'll be in the middle of the pack, maybe a little below average.
All right, well, let's take a look at their schedule and see where you think this team could possibly finish in the regular season. So they're right out of the gate against the Lions, bye week in week 11, which is, not a little later than, my perfect bye week position, but still, in my opinion, a great time to have a bye week nonetheless, because you get to basically rest up, maybe get guys healthy down the stretch of the season. But will any of that matter with this Jets team? What do you think?
Not really, because that bye week comes right off. They get New England right off the heels of that. They actually get New England twice after the bye week. That week, in week 12 and last game of the season, they may catch a win there. In Foxborough, maybe if the Patriots are like 12-4, 13-3, playoff spot locked up, there's nothing that can change. And obviously, let's just be honest, I don't think this team's a playoff team, so we can get that out of the way. Jaguars and Broncos back-to-back, and then you get the Vikings right behind that 2 weeks later. I see 3 losses there. This team, good thing they're in the AFC East, or it could be even worse than what I think. This team is probably made, I'd say, a 4 to 5 win team. I don't see much improvement.
Because of the division they play in, I'm going to go out on a limb here and give them 6 wins for the season. I don't see much improvement either. And it's actually, asking a lot for me to think that a rookie quarterback is going to step in and help this team improve from where they were last year. But, 6 wins is not asking a lot. I think maybe they can eke out 6. All right, so let's move on in the AFC East. And the next team we're going to talk about is the Miami Dolphins. Last season at 6-10. Some of the notable veteran additions for this Dolphin team over the offseason was quarterback Brock Osweiler, running back Frank Gore.
Is that really an addition, though? Is that really an addition? I mean, that's really like a subtraction.
Albert Wilson, Danny Amendola, Josh Sitton, Daniel Kilgore, and defensive end Robert Quinn. Some of their draft picks, they got a good safety in the early part of the draft with Minka Fitzpatrick, tight end Mike Gesicki, linebacker Jerome Baker, tight end Durham Smith, running back Kalen Balaj. Some of the notable losses: quarterback Matt Moore, quarterback Jay Cutler, that we all kind of knew was a one-year thing anyway.
That's a good loss.
Jarvis Landry, tight end Julius Thomas, center Mike Pouncey, Ndamukong Suh, Lawrence Timmons, Michael Thomas, safety Nate Allen, and kicker Cody Parkey. Like, if you look at this on paper, like just looking at the names, you would think that the Dolphins lost a lot more in this offseason than they gained.
Yeah.
So let's go to the offensive side of the ball. What do you see? Last season they had some hopes. Ryan Tannehill went down with the torn ACL during training camp. They brought in Jay Cutler thinking they can get a veteran that has some modicum of experience. That didn't go too well. So, yeah, That's how 2017 ended. So Tannehill is back in the fold. He's going to be at full strength. What do you see from this offense?
Oh, okay. So I'm just going to preface this by saying I'm a little bit biased against this team. I hate everything that this team stands for, but I'll be objective as long as I have to. Looking at this offense, it's like addition by subtraction, or might it be subtraction by addition? I don't know how you want to look at this, because Jay Cutler was bad. Ryan Tannehill hasn't been much better since he's been in the league. You lose your best receiver. You bring in a nice tight end in Mike Gesicki. I will give them credit for that, because he was the best tight end in this class, and he's not going to block a soul, but he's one of those move tight ends, those guys you can kind of put out on an island. I'm not calling him Gronk, but he's a Gronkish Travis Kelce type tight end where you can kind of just a matchup nightmare. You lost J.S.J. last year. That hurt. So now you have Kenyon Drake as your number one running back with Frank Gore, not Frank Gore from the U, but Frank Gore after he's been busted up after about 13 years in the league. So you don't know what you're getting from that. Offensive line got worse. You bring in Danny Amendola, a slot receiver who was made to look really good once he got to a New England team that already had an established superstar quarterback and a very good offense in place. So I don't expect much from this team. I expect meager numbers. Ryan Tannehill, expect to be running for your life while you run behind this patchwork offensive line. Just being honest, Adam Gase, you're coaching for your job, dude. That's just the way it is. Ryan Tannehill shouldn't have got that contract. I would have moved on from him. One of the only bright spots, and I think he's still a work in progress, but Laramie Tunsil and Devontae Parker, I'm still holding out hope for those two guys.
Yeah, because, Tannehill gets injured. He comes back. His number one weapon on the receiving core is gone in Jarvis Landry. Devontae Parker is going to have to be that guy, like you mentioned, Devontae Parker, Kenny Stills, Albert Wilson, Danny Amendola. Devontae Parker is the most likely of names that I just named to step into that number one role and give Tannehill a solid, consistent target to throw to. This offense doesn't excite me, though, at all. Not in the passing game, not in the running game. Kind of like you said about the last team we talked about. It's like, they're just out there with some guys. So we'll see how well these guys can do in 2018. On the defensive side of the ball, they lost some pretty talented guys, namely Ndamukong Suh. What do you see from the guys who are there, and how good do you think this defense can be this year?
I think this defense could be solid, not great. You still have Cam Wake. Somehow this dude is still just eating quarterbacks at his age. Now, how long will that last? Who knows? Robert Quinn, he wasn't good enough to be on probably, if not the best defense, at least the most talented defense in the league with the Rams. I still, you know how I feel about Raekwon McMillan. I think
that used to be his team.
Your namesake. Yeah.
Yeah, we finally get to see Raekwon the Chef McMillan in action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jerome Baker's going to be a nice addition at the weak side backer spot. But the secondary, I'm just not. I'm not enthused to watch this secondary. Minka Fitzpatrick is a versatile player, but unfortunately he's on a bad defense. So he's going to be asked to do a lot of things he probably normally wouldn't have to do. He can play a little bit of corner, a little bit of safety. I'd probably want him more at free safety. But really, this defense could probably be average at least in about halfway through the season. I just don't see where the pass rush is coming from, and if anybody gets hurt, well, they don't have the guys behind them. Also, Charles Harris from Missouri, their first-round pick from a few years ago, has not done anything yet. So I want to see him kind of step up and see what he can do.
You think going back to the draft, do you think Fitzpatrick was the right pick for this team? Because I think everybody kind of expected them to go linebacker with their first pick.
Yeah.
But they did.
Help out a really bad secondary. You can get linebackers late, mid to late, in these type of deep drafts. But when you have a chance to get an elite player in the secondary, you have to go get him, especially like a Minkah Fitzpatrick, who actually kind of fell.
All right, shout out to young Xavier Howard, though. He did pick off your man, Tom Brady, twice in that Monday night game late in the season. I don't know if that's going to lead to any success now or in the future, but if he doesn't become anything, I guess he can hang his hat on that for the rest of his life. So shout out to him.
Yeah, he can.
Let's look at the schedule and see what we think of the Miami Dolphins entering the 2018 regular season. Another team with a bye week in Week 11, but they'll start right out of the gate with the Titans, at the Jets, home to the Raiders, at Foxborough, at the Bengals, home to the Bears, home to the Lions, at the Texans, home to the Jets, and at the Packers before they get to rest them up on Week 11. So what do you see from this squad?
It's if this schedule was any elite teams, any upper echelon teams, maybe anywhere between 1 to 12, maybe, this is a playoff team because this schedule is pretty easy. You have a middling Titans team, a Jets team that you don't really expect to do much. A Raiders team which is in flux. A Patriots team that you usually get early. If you get the Patriots early in Foxborough, I always look at where that game is between these two teams, because if this game is early and it's in Miami in the heat, I think no pun intended, but if that game is in Miami early, it's probably a win for the Dolphins just simply because of the humidity and just the elements. But it's in Foxborough early, so good luck. Tom Brady might have a field day in that game, but favorable schedule. You see a lot of wins you could pick off, or you can kind of find a way to finagle your way into a win. You could fall into a win with a bunch of teams that don't finish well. My concern for this team is from Week 8 on, because that's where it gets very real. At the Texans, at the Packers, then you get a bye week, but then Week 14 to 16, you get the Patriots, at the Vikings, and the Jags in consecutive weeks. Not good. Not good at all.
And two division games against the Bills. So, those aren't getting
sandwiched in between that. Sandwiched in between all of that. So, for me, as enticing as this schedule is, if I'm a Dolphins fan, I think maybe this is our year. We can sneak in. We can find a way. Our quarterback's back. We got some new weapons. But the reality of it is this team could be like I won't say they'll go lower, but they're not going any higher. 6-10, 6-10 type of seed. 5-11, 6-10.
I wholeheartedly agree with 6-10. When you said they won't go any lower, I just knew you were going to say 8, and I thought I was going to shock you with 6. But you went 6, just like I was thinking. So we agree with that, about 6-10 for the Miami Dolphins. So we're going to move on to the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills finished last season 9-7 with their first playoff appearance in a very, very long time. The Buffalo Bills were like the team in the NFL with the longest playoff drought. A long way away from their glory days of 4 straight Super Bowl appearances, none of which they could pull out in the win column. But this team, some veteran additions, A.J. McCarron, Chris Ivory, Jeremy Curley, Russell Bodine, Trent Murphy, Vontae Davis, Phillip Gaines, Raphael Bush. In the draft, they went quarterback as well with Josh Allen, linebacker Tremaine Edmonds, defensive tackle Harrison Phillips, cornerback Teron Johnson, safety Saran Neal, and guard Wyatt Teller. Some of the losses in the offseason, quarterback Tyrod Taylor, who is now a Cleveland Brown, Mike Tolbert, wide receiver Jordan Matthews, Deontay Thompson, Cordy Glenn, Richie Incognito, who's having some issues of his own right now. Outside of football, center Eric Wood, defensive end Ryan Davis, Preston Brown, EJ Gaines, and cornerback Sharice Wright. So any additions, losses, draft picks, or coaching staff changes you want to talk about with the Bills?
Offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills has changed. Brian Dable, former Patriots assistant, turned Alabama offensive coordinator and national champion, turned offensive coordinator back into his old division. So what I expect from him is they're going to experiment with the RPO game. I expect them to want to run the football a little bit. I think that going to the college game gave him a little bit of experience when it comes to play calling. That's an art form. If you don't believe me, go watch your favorite team, especially at the college level, and look how they struggle against certain teams. It comes down to play calling. If you don't know how to set up certain plays and you wonder why your offense struggles, look to your play caller. I think he gained valuable experience, and I think he learned how to use a quarterback like a Josh Allen who can move a little bit and also incorporate the run game and this RPO stuff that every team is wanting to use.
Okay. All right, so last season the scenario is this. They had Tyrod Taylor, who I guess was going to be their bridge guy. He actually leads them to the playoffs for the first time since 1999. They had a little episode where they benched him for a game, brought in Nathan, as Bomani Jones calls him, the Peter Man. That didn't go so well. It was Nathan, the Peter Man, damn near threw an interception on every attempt. That's an exaggeration, people.
That's hard. That's really hard to do, by the way.
But even though, Tyrod Taylor led them to their first, and I'm not putting it all on him, I'm just saying led them to their first playoff appearance since 1999. The team decided to cut ties with him. Of course, we know they signed A.J. McCarron away from the Bengals earlier in the offseason, and then, like we mentioned, drafted Josh Allen at number 7. So what are they going to do? Before we even talk about the offense as a whole, week 1, is it the Peter Man or is it Josh Allen?
Well, we saw reports that Nathan Peterman will be the starter. Good move by the Bills. Josh Allen is just not ready. He has the tools, but he's just not ready. It's just the way it is. What I do like here, no, he's definitely no, he's not.
But it's better
ready.
to let him struggle than let your rookie struggle. Your
I'd rather,
potential franchise quarterback. It's better for the Peter Man to lose his confidence than for your franchise quarterback to lose his confidence.
For me, I get what the Bills tried to do last year. They attempted to pull an NBA move where they tried to tank, but it was so bad and the outcry to make the playoffs was so much greater because the fans missed. How many of their fans haven't? It's been a good generation since they made the playoffs. So it's like, what do we do here? Do we just tank it the rest of the way, get a good draft pick, keep building, or do we please our fans and bench Tyrod despite having a pretty decent season, being a half-decent quarterback, and make the playoffs just to get an early round exit and get a lower pick, which we know what draft purgatory looks like. That's what the Bills have been in. So they went with option B. It didn't turn out the way they wanted it to, and Nathan Peterman's still going to probably throw 5 picks in his first 8 attempts.
Nathan Peterman can't be any worse than he was in his appearance last year, man. So I'm rooting for the youngsters. But all in all, what do you see from this offense overall this season? Shady
McCoy, and lots more Shady McCoy. He's getting up there in age, so it seems like the guys. It doesn't seem like he's been in the league forever, but he finally reached that magic number for running backs. 30 years old, but he had 1,100 yards last year. Touchdowns are down, but the one thing you can expect from him is he's going to be a consistent back, and if he puts the wiggle sticks on you, it's over with. So expect his carries to go down a bit. 287 carries is a lot. I don't want to see him taking that many carries. Get Chris Ivory involved, run him in the ground a little bit. Also, you got Marcus Murphy in there too.
I was just about to say the only way his carries go down is him sharing load. It's not going to go down because the passing attempts are going to go up. I'll tell you that. They're going to be leaning heavily on the running game this season, in my opinion. We'll see if that comes to fruition.
Most carries he's had since 2014, by the way. Third most carries of his career last year, most since 2014. Not good.
All right. What's Kelvin Benjamin going to do out there on the outside?
Kelvin Benjamin when another man says something about you and you don't do anything about it. I mean, you confronted Cam Newton after saying something that Cam Newton came to see you about. He said, "I want to give you these hands." He didn't, he didn't say. He's just kind of, "Hey, what you want to do? We right here in front of everybody," and you didn't do anything. And for me, when I see that, I say, I think Cam Newton took his heart. He took his soul, and his former quarterback has rendered him really not so great guy. He hasn't been a good player in the league really since his rookie year. So after tearing that ACL and the Panthers going on to the Super Bowl without him, it just seems like he's a shell of his former self. I think he's going to be a lot of the same. He doesn't separate well. He's a red zone guy. He can go get it, but how often are they going to be in the red zone? It's not like this team's an explosive offense. So I don't expect much. Maybe 500 yards, 600 yards, maybe 4 touchdowns.
Wow.
Simply because you're in the red zone. Yeah, I don't expect much.
Well, on the other side of the ball, we pretty much know that the defense is the unit that led them to the playoffs last season. In 10 games last season, they gave up 17 or fewer points. And in today's NFL, that's a hell of a feat to have your scoring defense perform on that level. They even play, the defense even balled out in the Jags in the wild card round. So, kudos to those guys. But do you think they can even improve on what they did last season?
I do. I like this defense. You add Star Lotulelei to the fold after Marcel Darius goes away to Jacksonville. You still have guys like Jerry Hughes, Matt Milano, good on defense. Tremaine Edmonds was a great pickup. He's going to be the heart and soul of that defense early and often. He'll be an unquestioned leader early. Tre'Davious White, he let us know he's one of the best corners in the league even after 1 year. You add in Vontae Davis to the mix. Shaq Lawson has to show up at some point. First-round pick from a few years ago. And Adolphus Washington definitely has to show up. If some of those guys can show up, and this defense can stand pat like they did last year, I expect some good things from this defense. Rex Ryan still has his fingerprints on this defense a little bit, even though he's no longer with the team.
You mentioned Tre'Davious White. The safeties played pretty well last season too. And all 3 of those guys are returning with the addition of Vontae Davis. So I think, if they continue to improve on the seasons that they have last season, this secondary could be very, very good. E.J. Gaines was a pretty significant loss. So we'll see what Vontae can do. Vontae to me hasn't played well over the last few seasons. I think the last time he was really good is when he played for the Colts.
Yeah, definitely. Vontae hasn't really been the same guy. Some guys, they just seem to, when it comes to when you're a corner, it just seems like when you put them on an island, they get a little bit older, they lose a bit of a step, they get injured a little bit. Things just kind of it's a mental thing. It's a mental thing, and they never.
And excuse how I put that. I was like when he played for the Colts. I meant early in his stint with the Colts was the last time he was a very good cornerback.
He has a name amongst NFL fans per se. The name carries weight.
Yeah. All right, so let's check on this schedule. The Miami Dolphins heading in. This is another. I'm sorry, not the Miami Dolphins. We are on the Buffalo Bills. So what do you see from their 2018?
Their 2018 schedule is a bit of a murderer's row to start the season. You start in Baltimore. 3 of your first 4 are on the road, and actually 5 of your first 7 are on the road. So, and those teams that you're on the road against, Baltimore, Minnesota, Green Bay, Houston, and Indy. I see one win. This team might win 1, maybe 2 games to start the season. I mean, you get Baltimore, LA. By the way, that LA game is at home, so West Coast teams traveling east at 1:00. We know how those games go. But it's also you're playing against that really good Chargers defense. But then you get Minnesota, Green Bay back to back on the road. I'm
assuming that one win could possibly come versus the Titans or the Colts. Maybe.
Yes, that one win could come against one of those teams. Depending on how the Texans are, we don't know. The one thing we don't know is the health of Deshaun Watson once guys start diving at his knees and the trash that's on the ground moving around in the pocket. And we also don't know what the status of Andrew Luck is. Will he be there mentally? Will he be there physically? So those two are the biggest unknown. For me, when you look at the rest of their schedule, New England follows in. They get their first home game off after that really nice road trip. You get New England, so that's not great. You get Chicago. The defense just got better. Then you get the Jets. You get a nice bye week. You're going to need it. And then you get Jacksonville right off the bye week. So you're back to being banged up again. You get the Dolphins twice after the bye week. The Lions mixed in there and the Patriots on the road in December. Not a great time to be a Buffalo Bills fan. One of the toughest schedules in the league. I don't really like what I'm seeing. If Nathan Peterman's your quarterback, ew. He might throw 5 picks in the first 5 possessions or the first 5 attempts at this rate.
I don't think Nathan Peterman is going to last the entire season. I mean, unless there's something there with him that we don't know. You know what I'm saying? If that performance from last season was an aberration, because it really was one game. And they have named him the starter, so maybe there's something that they see in him that they just haven't been able to show us yet. But the fact that he is an unknown, and even if they put Josh Allen into the mix, he's an unknown as well. Yeah, I think this playoff team from last season, not to say they're about to start another drought that, with the numbers that they had before, but I'm looking at them missing the playoffs again, and I see 6 wins, and I see that mostly off the strength of the defense. Like I said, unless there's an unknown in Peterman, or if he goes out and Josh Allen comes in and kind of lights it up, that's the only hope I see from this team. But on the offensive side of the ball, it's going to be run heavy. But I don't think in today's NFL that's going to be enough, to get them back to where they were last year. Not that Tyrod Taylor is a great quarterback, but he can improvise. You know what I'm saying? So, Tyrod Taylor can make things out of pretty bad situations and at least keep it afloat while your defense is out there pounding people into submission. But I don't see that on the roster this year, not quite yet. So I'm going to go 6 wins. How many wins you got?
anywhere between 4 and 5. I'm gonna go below you because those first 7 are just I can't
Murderers
get past that first. And then by the way, that Week 8 game at home against New England's a Monday nighter. So you know who's gonna show up on Monday night with the stage all to themselves. So
I don't.
That's gonna be a very tough task. Instantly I see 7. I could see 2 and 5 to start the season. So I'm gonna go 5 and 11 just to give a definitive number.
All right. Well, speaking of New England, let's go to 13-3 Super Bowl runner-ups from last season. Your New England Patriots. So let's talk about them in this division. There's no secret that a lot of us think that the Patriots have feasted off of a pretty weak division for a long time. But hey, this is my thing. You play who the hell they put in front of you, and if throughout all of these years of the Patriots quote unquote dynasty, this division couldn't catch up, that's more their fault than the Patriots' fault. So I don't have any sympathy for any of those guys, and I don't have any disdain for the Patriots for taking advantage of what they're supposed to take advantage of. So let's talk about some of the veteran additions, the draft picks, and the offseason losses. Running back Jeremy Hill came through into the fold. Wide receiver Cordell Patterson, wide receiver Jordan Matthews, Trent Brown, Matt Tobin.
Jordan Matthews, by the way, has been cut already.
Is gone. Yeah, Jordan Matthews is gone. Adrian Claiborne, Danny Shelton, cornerback Jason McCourty. Some of their draft picks, Isaiah Wynn, offensive line, running back Sony Michel, cornerback Duke Dawson, linebacker Jawan Bentley. Some of the offseason losses, and we've talked about some of these guys and on the other teams. We talked about how, a lot of people were out there just grabbing Patriots and Bill Belichick sitting back and basically saying, have at it because it's me, not them. Running back Deion Lewis, wide receiver Brandon Cooks, who I think is still searching for his soul after the hit in the Super Bowl. So I don't think you guys traded Brandon Cooks. I think you guys traded his soul to L.A., and L.A. allowed y'all to fleece them into trading for somebody's ghost. Tight end Martellus Bennett, Nate Solder, Cameron Fleming, and Garcia, James Harrison's old ass, Shea McClellan, cornerback Malcolm Butler, which a lot of people see as a big loss, and safety Johnson, you can pronounce his name for me, Batamosi? I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
He's
First
gone.
one I've heard. Got it right.
So on the coaching staff, because there was a snatch and grab from the coaching staff. So who's filling in on this coaching staff this season?
One, Bill Belichick is assuming 2 roles, head coach and DC. I think it was, for me, when I look at this coaching change, he was already really had his fingerprints are all over this team, whether it's offensive, defensive side of the ball. He has a large part in all of that. So to say Matt Patricia was a big loss, it was, because that's an extra set of eyes that can he's put together some really good defenses. The issue I've seen with this team isn't the coaching staff. It's a lack of it's not the X's and O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes. A lot of Jimmies, not a lot of Joes, just being honest.
All right, so some questions for you since this is your team. Last season we saw some things, in the organization that we're not used to seeing. A little bit of drama, a little bit of controversy. We had the whole situation between Brady and Belichick because the team removed Brady's personal trainer. He still gets asked about this trainer like every damn day all throughout camp. We saw the situation in the Super Bowl where Malcolm Butler was inexplicably benched. There's a lot of people out there who think that may have been the catalyst for them losing that game. You had Gronk. This wasn't really drama, but he definitely discussed the possibility of retirement in the offseason. Tom Brady is 41 years old. He keeps defying Father Time. Just all of this stuff balled up into one. Do you think that any slippage could come this particular season, or do you think, at 41, Tom Brady's going to have another MVP caliber season? Gronk is going to go out and do what he does now that he is back in the fold, and all the drama from last season, do you think they can quickly put it aside and be the Patriots?
I do. I think what you saw over the last couple of years has been a little bit out of the norm for what you see as Patriot football. This team is going to get back to what they used to do. The downfield passing, I haven't seen the Patriots go deep down the field as much as they have last year, mainly because you had a guy who could do it in Brandon Cook. Probably since the Randy Moss days. But now that he's gone, you'll see a lot more of the inside the numbers passing game. You'll see a lot more of Gronk being featured down the field. I think Brady is going to be business as usual. I haven't seen much of a drop-off from him, even as far as arm talent is concerned. Usually when quarterbacks get old, you can see the arm go, you see the accuracy go, you see them they're brittle, and they just don't want to do it. Brady has this way of just psyching himself up to want to go do this again at 41 years old. I mean, the guy loves football. When I look at this offense, when I look at how this offense is going to work, you're going to see a lot more of, again, that short passing game, what we're used to seeing, that Julian Edelman coming back so it's an extension of the running game. I think they're going to try to preserve Brady's body a little bit more. He took a ton of hits last year, and that was one of the biggest concerns with him getting up in age. The offensive line, you lose Nate Solder now, you lose Isaiah Wynn now, the first-round pick at tackle. So now you have a big hole at left tackle. Trent Brown gets injured. We'll see what he can do. But the line's a little bit in flux. You draft a running back in the first round. You know how I feel about those type of moves.
I do.
Trade
do you
Jimmy
think that move was another component in trying to preserve Brady's body a little bit?
I do. Because
another runner in the fold who can also catch out of the backfield.
I do. It was a nice replacement for Deion Lewis. Deion Lewis, the one misconception about him is, he's small and he can't run between the tackles. Deion Lewis ran between the tackles more than any other running back on that team. And they brought in Mike Gillislee from Buffalo to do that. Mike Gillislee's no longer there after having just a abysmal year, being in the doghouse. You bring in Jeremy Hill to do that, so now you don't have to rely on Rex Burkhead and James White to do that. Sony Michel's going to be able to get a little bit of that too. So you have two physical backs. One can do a little bit through the air. So the short passing game turns into a extension of the running game. And it's going to be a ton of the quick passing game again because of the fact that the offensive line isn't great and the receivers getting downfield. That's just not going to happen. You just don't have those type of guys anymore.
Okay. Defense with, like you said, Belichick assuming that role as well. What do you see from the defense this year?
Last year was probably one of the biggest headaches I've seen as far as defense is concerned. They were just like night and day from game to game. Teams would throw all over them. And I think one of the biggest things that numbers lie a lot of times when it comes to this team. They're kind of the outlier. Typically, if you see a team just getting thrown all over and teams just going up and down the field on them, you think that team had a bad defense. Statistically, Patriots, the statistics say not so great, but when you watch this team on the field, they blow up when you have to. It's a bend, don't break defense. And last time I checked, Super Bowls aren't won or lost by yards. They're won and lost by points put on the board or a strip sack, however you want to look at it. Shout out to your Eagles. Thank you very much for breaking my heart. When I look at
this defense had to overcome some early struggles last year because in the first 4 games they were giving up like 32 points a game. Of course, it improved after that, but some people say, well, a part of that was because they played a soft schedule. But, like I said early, look, you play who they put in front of you. You know what I'm saying? And
exactly.
Defense stepped up and they improved. Hey, that's what it was. You are what what the what the record says that you are. They stepped up and improved. They won the game and was good enough to be an anchor on a Super Bowl team. So,
one of the biggest things that I noticed with this defense early, Dante Hightower just wasn't the same. He was very injured, and at some point he had to be put on IR with a shoulder. So your Super Bowl hero a couple of years ago after the big sack, by the way, Devontae Freeman, you'll never live that down. But nonetheless, him being the heart and soul of that defense, him going down with other guys going down, having to be replaced, Patrick Chung having to go safety corner. You had a lot of mixing and matching of players. That is never good. You will never be able to field a good defense that way. So you bring in a guy like a Danny Shelton to stop the run. You bring in Lawrence Guy to help stop the run. Malcolm Butler's your interior pass rusher. You get Dante Hightower back. Bring in Adrian Claiborne as a situational pass rusher. You bring in Jason McCourty, the other McCourty that no one cares about, but happens to be a half decent corner. You need to replace Malcolm Butler. He's one of the biggest. Say what you want about him. He was very consistent. And the Titans are really they got a good corner in Malcolm Butler. So nothing bad to say about him. And of course, you got Devin McCourty on the back end, patrolling the middle. You'll see a lot of Deron Harmon as well as that third safety role. Duke Dawson in the nickel role. So this defense is solid. They don't have the big names like if you look at a team like the Texans where they have Watt and Clowney with Merciless, or you have a team like the Minnesota Vikings where you have Harrison Smith, Anthony Barr, Everson Griffin. You don't have those type of star power names, but this defense is not about the individual player. It's about the sum of the parts. I think if our old heads will understand this one. I compare this defense to Voltron. They're bad. They can't save a soul by themselves, but you bring Voltron out, we're good to go. Good to go.
No doubt. All right, let's take a quick look at the schedule and see what we think. This is another team with a Week 11 bye, and I'm looking at how everything starts. You sprinkle a few difficult ones out in the first 7 or 8 games, but I see this schedule being very favorable for the Patriots to again run away with this division. I'm thinking anywhere between. I'm thinking 13-3, but I'm thinking anywhere between 11-5.
That hurt a little bit. I don't know if I want that kind of pressure yet.
So since I'm saying 11-5 to 13-3, I'll go in the middle of that and hit them with a 12-4. What about you?
I can kind of stand to agree with you there. You got 8 games you have your 6 games against your division opponents. I think you'll probably see 5 out of 6 there. So there's your 6. There's your 5 wins right there. You get a Colts game sprinkled in there, a Titans game sprinkled in there, a Bears game sprinkled in there. 2 of those are on the road, not too worried. You also have Pittsburgh. We own Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, not in Pittsburgh. It doesn't really matter, even if it is at the end of the season. The games I'm worried about, I have 4 that bother me. 3 of them are at home, and 2 of them are to start the season. Texans early at home, Jags on the road to start the first 2 of the best defenses in the conference, not the league, just the conference, and that's tough. So it just when I see these 2, I say circle those 2. Those if you lose those, if you split those, you have a chance to get Lions, Dolphins, and Colts. You can kind of feast on those. If you can win 4 out of 5 there, you get the Chiefs. You don't know what you get with Patrick Mahomes. But if you can play solid, keep Tyreek Hill from going off on you, you get a chance to play those Bears, those Bills. The matchup I want to see the most, simply put, we can just forget about the defensive side of the ball. Can we just have a 7-on-7? the two best quarterbacks in the league, Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady. The last time these two teams played, Aaron Rodgers threw a late touchdown to win it, and I need my revenge game. This one's at home for the Patriots, so looking forward to that one. And I agree with you. I see the only other game maybe would be a Super Bowl preview could be the Vikings and the Patriots. That would be that game. I'm circling that game in Week 13 to be one of the biggest, probably the biggest game on the schedule against an NFC team. Simply put, that defense is good. If Brady can find a way to make plays, and I say Brady, and I mean the whole team, but I say Brady, simply put, if he can slice that team up, watch out. 12-4 sounds good.
All right, so that's your AFC East division. We're going to move to our final division of the preview, and that is the NFC East. And then if we're going in inverse order, then we got to start with the New York Football Giants, who ended last season at an abysmal and very surprising to me 3-13. Some of the veteran additions. Yeah, you told me they weren't going to be good. I actually thought the Giants were going to win the division last season, and they were the worst team damn near in the league. Veteran additions: Jonathan Stewart, Cody Latimer, Nate Solder, Kareem Martin, linebacker Connor Barwin, Alec Ogletree, safety William Gay, safety Michael Thomas. Of course, we know with the number 2 pick, they drafted running back Saquon Barkley. They also drafted guard Will Hernandez, linebacker Lorenzo Carter, nose tackle B.J. Hill, quarterback Kyle Laletta, defensive tackle R.J. McIntosh, cornerback Sam Beal. Some of their losses, quarterback Geno Smith, who in a bizarre twist was the coach's choice to stop Eli Manning's streak so he could get a look at Geno Smith. I didn't understand that whole thing. Hated his guts for that, and I'm not even a Giants fan. Orleans Darkwa, Shane Vereen, Brandon Marshall, DJ Fluker, Justin Pugh, Jason Pierre-Paul, Jay Bromley, Devin Kennard, Ross Cockrell, Dominic Rogers, Cromartie. So it seems as if the Giants had decided to clean house after a very disappointing season last year. Did you want to talk about any notable veteran additions, off-season losses, draft picks, or coaching staff changes that I didn't talk about?
Yeah, they cleaned house at the head coaching position, offensive coordinator, all of that. Yeah, we completely cleaned house there. So Pat Shermer, head coach, coming over from the Vikings. You'll see a West Coast passing game there with Mike Shula too. Looking forward to seeing what Eli can do in a more timing-based passing game. I don't think Eli's done. I don't think he's an elite player. He's never been an elite player, but he's also not been as bad as people give him credit for.
Can't spell elite without Eli?
You also can't spell. Never mind. I'm going to leave that alone. Saquon Barkley is going to give a huge infusion of just explosiveness into this offense. And the one pick I really hate the Giants for, because they got the guy I wanted on the offensive line, Will Hernandez. You will remember that name. Great addition to a team. The one thing I said about this team last year, the offensive line will be the death of this team. Well, they improved their offensive line by leaps and bounds.
The crazy thing is, at 3-13, it seemed like maybe the Giants knew that last season was an anomaly. Either that, or they may be a little delusional, because even though I agree with you that Eli Manning isn't done, with the number 2 pick, I still think they would have been best served to grab one of those young quarterbacks and allow him to learn from Eli for a year or two. But I think the Giants are still going for it as if they think, they're in the mix. They thought adding dynamic running back to what they already had, and with some guys coming back from injury, and Odell Beckham, a few other people, I think they're just going for it. They think that it's still out there for them. I can't say, after picking them to win the division last season, I can't say that it's a terrible thought. But there are some people out there who might think that it's a little bit, So besides the I guess we can call them the big three now of Eli, Saquon, and Odell Beckham, who just got broke off. Brinks truck just leaving his house as we speak. What do you see from this offense overall heading into 2018?
Like I said, offensive line vastly improved. They moved Eric Flowers away from that left tackle spot. He should never even go near the left tackle spot again. If he does, he needs to be arrested for fraudulent activity. So, because he is nothing like a left tackle, he needs to stay on that right side. He's a power guy. He's the guy you want to run behind. Nate Solder's more of the dancing bear that you want. He's had a little bit of an injury history. Will Hernandez, again, the guy I wanted in the draft. Thank you, New York, for taking my dreams away. But this offensive line is going to be well improved, which helps out Eli Manning. And by the way, Saquon Barkley looks pretty good. I think I'm kind of on the other end of things with it, with what you said about him being drafted number 2, and instead of taking a quarterback, I think he is what can help the quarterback. Even though in the beginning I had to take a step back and really pay attention to it. Think about how Ezekiel Elliott helped a Dak Prescott out. Kind of the same way. Saquon Barkley can take the pressure off because you have a better offensive line, and you can do so many things with him. You can use him in the short passing game, the screen game, the inside-outside run game, and because you have so many different ways you can use him, the play-action game downfield opens up, which helps Odell Beckham. Makes him win.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to the fat boys up front because – Eli has weapon after weapon after weapon at his disposal with Barkley, Odell Beckham, Sterling Shepard, and Evan Ingram, who was really good last season. He kind of had to be. He was thrown into the fire because of all the injuries in their receiving corps. But he was a very good young tight end in the league last season. I think he caught about 64 passes, 700 yards. This is a team that I'm going to be interested in watching. The defense. Now, back in 2016, the defense was about all the team consistently had going for it. Last season, not so much. They went from giving up about 19 points a game in 2016 to 24 plus points per game last season. We look at numbers like that, but, if you really watch football, you know that your offense always plays a part in your defensive statistics. It depends on how much you're on the field. If your offense is going 3 and out and they're not generating anything, then it's going to put more pressure on the defense. But that was a marked decline from the season before. What do you see from this defense this season?
The days of Matthias Kiwanuka and Justin Tuck, who else? Michael Strahan, JPP, all of those days are over with. This team spent a ton of money. They could have fielded a really, really good team with 3 signings with Damon Harrison, Olivier Vernon, and the artist formerly known as Janoris Jenkins, Jackrabbit. So you went and got 2 really good pass rushers and one is a run stuffer too. He's probably the best nose tackle in the league when it comes to stopping the run. And you got one of the better corners in the league, but it doesn't really translate. The money isn't translating. Olivier Vernon hasn't really put the pressure on, and Damon Harrison, I don't know. It just seems like he was kind of useless. Jackrabbit probably is the only guy that's been really consistent. They don't spend any money at the linebacker position. They went out and got an Alec Ogletree. He's okay. He's not. He's your typical inside backer. He stops the run. He doesn't cover well. They don't have that one backer that does. I think this defense is going to be okay. Landon Collins still one of my favorite safeties. Eli Apple, I feel like his mom is in the NFL more than he is because she's on TV more than he is. But I think he's going to he might have a solid season. It's a make or break season for him. I think this defense will be fine in the secondary. I just don't see where the extra pass rush is coming from. It's Olivier Vernon and everybody else.
Right. Yeah, because the starting edge rushers are going to be Olivier Vernon and Kareem Martin. I don't know if if that's going to put the type of pressure you need to get everybody else going in the defense, but we'll see. We'll definitely see.
Sprinkling a little Connor Barwin there, here and there, but I don't think even that'll be enough to really make team. I'm not scared of this team defense. Right.
All right, so let's and see where we think they will finish. This is a team with a Week 9 bye, so right out of the gate, they get the Jags at home after Jalen Ramsey said the things that he said, so Eli is going to go out there with something to prove. Then they're at the Cowboys. That's the game that they usually start the season with, Giants-Cowboys. They're going to go Week 2 on Sunday Night Football. Then you got at Texans, home to the Saints, at the Panthers, home to the Eagles, at the Falcons, and then home to the Washington professional football team before they go out on their bye week. So what do you see from the Giants?
Murderers Row. These teams with these Murderers Row schedule. I see one win. Week 2 at Dallas. Everybody wins against Dallas. You get a win, you get a win, and you get a win. If you're not the Browns, you get a win. So we'll get to them in a minute, but you get either one of the best defenses in the league or you get one of the best offenses in the league who has an okay defense. And by the way, you get the Super Bowl champs within the first 6 weeks. It's going to get this team's going to get tested early. We'll find out a lot about this team in the first 8 games. They'll definitely need this bye week. You get San Francisco and Tampa as well as the defending champs again in the first 3 weeks after the bye week. That is Murderers Row. I mean, I don't want to play that team. I don't want to be this team come, Thanksgiving. I don't want to be this team. I don't want to be the team doctor because I'll be seeing a lot of guys. I think this team's going to be a 5-11 team.
Wow. I guess here we go again. Here we go again because I don't know. I always see more for this team than other people do. So you're going 5-11 with them?
Yeah, I think this is a 5-11 team, and high draft with 8th pick in the draft. The Giants select.
I see 9-7 for the Giants.
Ooh.
9-7.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I convinced you. Did I convince you with the whole offensive line thing? I mean,
insanity. It's called insanity. Like I just don't learn my lessons. Because, deep down you think, okay, last year you think you have an excuse. Like they had so many injuries, man. They lost everybody. So you think you have an excuse. So I'm going to go 9-7 for those guys. All right, so let's go on to the Washington professional football team who finished last season at 7-9. Now this is an interesting team. You've been saying a few things about them, the whole time that we've been doing this pretty much. So what is it, before we even get into their additions and losses and all that kind of stuff, like you keep saying that this team interests you and you think it might end up being a little better than you expect them to be. Like, what are some of those reasons that you expect that?
Defensively, the pickups defensively over the last couple seasons, you get Jonathan Allen, you add in Deron Payne, you have a Josh Norman, you have Ryan Kerrigan on the outside getting after quarterbacks. You're solid on defense. And by the way, you add in the artist formerly known as Captain Checkdown. Well, he's not Captain Checkdown anymore. Last year, what I saw from Alex Smith was, I'm still wondering, is that the same guy under the red helmet? Because he was throwing the ball downfield more than I've ever seen him attacking. He wasn't just sitting back taking what he was given. He was attacking teams.
Hold that thought.
Uh-oh.
Because we're gonna talk about that. So let's give the veteran edition. Let's talk about Alex Smith was one, quarterback Kevin Hogan, wide receiver Paul Richardson, Pernell McPhee, cornerback Orlando Scandrick. Some of their early draft picks was nose tackle Deron Payne, Jarius Geis in the backfield, Jerron Christian, Adonis Alexander, and Troy Akpe. I can't pronounce it. Akpe. Some of their losses: quarterback Captain Kirk Cousins, Terrell Pryor, Ryan Grant, Niles Paul at tight end, Spencer Long, Terrell McClain, Trent Murphy, Gillette, Sua Cravens, Will Compton, Kendall Fuller, Brashad Breeland, and D'Angelo Hall. Like, they lost a lot of names from this team. Now, these aren't nationally recognized names, but, me being in the area, these are a lot of guys that they, held in high regard in this area. But let's go back to the off. Talk about Captain Checkdown. Now, I agree with you because we talked about it on Cover 2 all throughout especially early in the season, of how Captain Checkdown, Alex Smith, looked totally different. He was going downfield, but this is what I propose to you. Like, was that the courage and gumption of a guy who knew that his job was on the line, who knew maybe this is my last season here, I need to show something to drum up some interest somewhere else. I know they're going to put this youngster in next year. This is the last chance I have. I can't go out looking like Captain Checkdown, even if that's still really me, even if he's going to put that mask back on when he comes here. Like, because later in the season, because midway through the season, I had Alex Smith as a top 2 MVP candidate. But then everything fell apart. I wouldn't say he went totally back to his check down ways, but he wasn't the same risk taker by the end of the season. So I'm wondering how much of that was knowing he was auditioning for other teams.
I think a lot of it had to do with number 10 that he had, that really, really fast little guy he had, Tyreek Hill. When you have a chance to make plays with him, it makes your life so much easier. He had a really decent receiving core, and he had a really good team. I think he got the encouragement that he needed. In the past, who has he really had to throw to down the field before now? When you finally get that one guy, I think it helps. And the year before, he was only about 5. He's really only about a 3,000 to 3,500 yard passer, and he just went bonkers and went for 4,000 yards and 26 touchdowns. The picks aren't bad. I've never really had an issue with that. I think he takes care of the ball, but now he understands that, it's like getting a skill and trying to refine it. I hate that he figured this out so late in his career. He's 34. What if he was throwing the ball down the field like this before now, and he actually wanted to be a little bit more aggressive?
Exactly.
Exactly. What if he was doing
the only thing about his prospects for going downfield this season is that Tyreek Hill ain't walking through that door. Paul Richardson was a nice add in free agency, but he still has some work to do, some things to prove. But he's a deep threat, so there's no excuses on Alex Smith's part. You have a deep threat on the team, so whether or not you decide to use him, that's going to be what remains to be seen. So so we'll see. He's playing alongside Jamison Crowder, Josh Doxson, a guy in Josh Doxson who I think it's time for him to start living up to some of these lofty expectations they have for him here in town.
Yeah,
and Jordan Reed, who in my opinion can be a top 5 tight end in this league if he can stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's a weapon.
Yeah, definitely.
But he just can't stay healthy. All right, so on the defensive end, you said you think
before you go to that
is...
defensive end.
Oh, go ahead.
Before you go to that defensive end, I think the only weakness I see in this offense is the running game. And granted,
that's blasphemous.
They
have Adrian Peterson now.
That's the artist formerly known as AP. That's not AP. That's another guy. That's somebody else. Until I see.
They do have AP with a chip on his shoulder, though. You never know with Cyborg.
You do. For me, I really want to see Darius Geis in this offense. Samaje Perine too, but neither one of those guys. I don't think Samaje Perine is going to be that big power back you wanted, but I also don't think Adrian Peterson is going to be the guy from Minnesota that you're thinking you're going to get. He might not even be the guy from Arizona. You're going to have to play a little bit of thunder and lightning with him and Chris Thompson, who's more of the speed guy. That's what you're going to have to do this year. You can't. But if this team commits to the run, and Adrian Peterson maybe is even half of what he used to be, they have a good offensive line. Use this to your advantage and let Alex Smith be able to use that downfield passing game in the play action game. Maybe play a little bit instead of going so much of this new school RPO spread offense stuff. Go old school. You remember the Hogs? We remember the Hogs. Go back to those days. Run the ball.
Definitely want to shout out the offensive line, though, because this is a group that a lot of people don't know about because they're never on the field at the same time. They couldn't keep the five out there at the same time last season. So with a healthy offensive line, this is a pretty good group. All right, so on the defensive side of the ball, we'll get through this quickly because you talked about them a little bit in the open. You think that this is a much improved unit coming in, and this is the reason why you think it's better than a lot of other people think.
I do. Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Ryan Anderson, Ryan Kerrigan. You also Josh Norman, DJ Swearinger. I mean, solid linebackers like Preston Smith and Mason Foster, Zach Brown. There's no major weakness. This is a solid group. I'm not calling them, the Legion of Boom or anything like that, but they're a solid group. And because this team has a little bit of depth, they complement each other. Both sides of the ball complement each other really well. Josh Norman gets up there in age a little bit, but the guy I want to see, and he's not probably going to see the field early, is Adonis Alexander, the supplemental draft pick from Virginia Tech. Yeah, he could have probably been a second or third round pick anyways. 6'3" corner, Richard Sherman-ish. We know how much we love our big corners. Maybe go help Josh Norman out a little bit. Just saying. Solid defense. Love it.
All right, we'll see how this defense performs. Like, they should benefit from an improved pass rush this season. So, those guys back there in that pretty solid secondary should be able to work a little bit easier. So I do agree with you there. I don't know if I'm going to agree with you on the record of this team, but let's go to the schedule and see what we think we're going to see from this Washington bunch this season. Now, this is a team with a early bye week in week 4. So they come out of the gate at Arizona, home to the Colts, home to the Packers before they get to pack it up, before they roll out to New Orleans to see the Saints. So what do you think?
Early, I see it. This team could be 2-0 to start the season. Arizona, not a good team, even though it's a road game. We know what Indy is. Andrew Luck isn't all the way back. You can see a 2-0 Washington team. Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Cam Newton. That's the stretch you have to worry about because you're going up against some high-powered offenses there. And a Carolina defense that's pretty good. You got a bye week snatch between there. If you can come out of there at least maybe 1-2, 2-1, you'll be okay. Of course, you get Dallas early. We know what that's going to be, an L for Dallas. But there's 2 stretches here that really concern me. That first stretch I just mentioned, and also week 11 through 15, you get the Texans, the Cowboys, the Eagles, Giants, and Jags, and then if you can kind of survive that, and you get Tampa. Actually, you get Tampa and Atlanta before that. You can survive that. Yeah, if you can kind of survive that, maybe go 3-4, 4-3. Just keep your head above water. This team can be a 9-7 team and make the playoffs. I like this team to give some teams some headaches.
All right, I agree about the headaches, but I don't think they're going to be pulling out some of these games where they're giving people headaches. What did you say? 9?
9-7. This is
okay.
I'm pulling what you did last year and this year with the Giants. This is how I feel about these games.
Right. No, and I feel I'm not too far off from you. I'm thinking 7-9, 8-8 for this team, leaning towards 8-8. So we're not too far off. But, that 8-8, 9-7, that could be the difference between a wild card spot and sitting at home. So we'll see how that plays out. Let's move on quickly to the next team on our schedule, on our list, and that is America's team, who I guess you're going to say is going to go 0-16. The Dallas Cowboys.
Not that bad, but close.
Steeped in a lot of off-season controversy around this flag and kneeling thing. The Cowboys went 9-7 last year when many, at least Dallas Cowboy fans, expected them to run away with the division. Some of the veteran additions: wide receiver Allen Hurns, wide receiver Deontay Thompson, Cameron Fleming, Coney Ealy, Joe Thomas. In the draft, they went linebacker Leighton Vander Esch, Connor Williams, Michael Gallup, Dorrance Armstrong, and tight end Dalton Schultz. I think they were a little mad because they wanted Dallas Goddard, and their in division rival snatched them right before they could get him. Some of the offseason losses: running back Alfred Morris, Keith Smith, Dez Bryant, who still doesn't have a job, Bryce Butler, tight end Jason Witten, who retired, probably be in the Hall of Fame in a few years, Jonathan Cooper, Anthony Hitchens, Kyle Wilbur, and cornerback Orlando Scandrick. So anything that I forgot with the additions, the subtractions, the draft picks, anything on the coaching staff before we get into this Dallas Cowboys offense?
Nothing major, nothing that really. Michael Gallup, wide receiver, he impressed me in the preseason.
Okay, well, speaking of wide receiver and just receiving core, period, this Dallas Cowboys offense is going to look much different, without Dez Bryant and Jason Witten lining up out there. It's going to look kind of awkward. Dak, he has his running back, bar injury. Ezekiel Elliott won't be missing any games like he did last season under suspension, even though, he got to start the season and see if he could get them a little bit of momentum before finally relenting to the suspension around mid-season. I don't see a lot of threats left on this offense because I don't know. We all know that Dak is better with Ezekiel Elliott. Any quarterback would be. But he didn't show improved last season. It was a dead heat between he and Carson Wentz going into the season, with a lot of people thinking that Dak was better at the time. He seemed to take a major step back last season. What do you see from this offense without those names, those mainstay weapons that they used to have? What can they do in 2018?
This team is going to see a ton of
give Zeke the ball 400, 500 times.
This team's going to see a lot of 8 and 9 man boxes. Personally, if I'm a DC in the NFL, I'm putting 8 men in the box until you stop it. Until you decide I'm just going to throw the football accurately, I'm going to test Dak Prescott every single down. Might even bring 9. We're going to play man-to-man on the outside and say, if you beat us, you beat us. because Travis Frederick isn't going to be around for a bit. Zach Martin's banged up. By the way, Tyron Smith he seemed like he took a little bit of a step backwards. Allen Hurns doesn't scare me. Terrence Williams, he has deep speed, but he doesn't really scare me as far as catching the football. Cole Beasley can't be on the field every down. And Dak Prescott, quite honestly, isn't a good quarterback. I'm just going to call it the way I see it. He's not an accurate quarterback. Me and you can put us out there, and quite honestly, if we are on first down, we get 1,000 yards on first down, just simply on first down. I think if we're literally seeing 2nd and 2, 2nd and 3 on a consistent basis, we're throwing first down. Dak Prescott got a little bit of a taste of what it looks like when your star running back isn't there, your offensive line isn't as good as you think it is, and losing a guy like Ronald Leary also hurts. Lyle Collins hasn't been who I thought he would be. I'm not impressed with this offense. I think they're going to be one of the worst in the league. Ezekiel Elliott is one of the best backs. I love him. He won me a fantasy championship. That's great. But 8 and 9-man boxes all season. He can't throw the football. That is Dak Prescott. Why do anything different? That's just the way it is. And by the way, Jerry Jones deserves every single bit of it.
All right, so let's go over to the defensive side of the ball, man. The crazy part of this defense, it seems like the success of this defense has always hinged on the health of Sean Lee, and that's not a great thing to hinge your success on. He is a great player. They gave up like 20.8 points per game in 2017, but in the games that he missed, they gave up 29.8 points. Like, we're not going to give him the credit for all of that, but he was the leader of the defense, and it's amazing how different they play when he's on the field. So, they went out looking for a linebacker. They got Leighton Vander Esch, but he also comes with some injury concerns. So they went out and tried to kind of bolster that because they know what kind of team they are with and without Sean Lee, and then they try to bolster the linebacking core, and they gamble on another guy that has some injury concerns. What do you see from this defense, who has been a thorn in this team's side for the past few seasons?
Like you feel about the Giants defense, I want to believe in this group. You have 2 stud pass rushers. You have DeMarcus Lawrence, Tyrone Crawford. You also have on the linebacker core, you have really good linebacker. You have a good player at every level of this defense. Sean Lee, Jalen Smith looked a lot better than I expected him to coming off the injury. You moved Byron Jones from safety to corner. Chidobe Awuzie from Colorado in his second year. Can't wait to see that. Jordan Lewis is the nickel back. That's a good thing to see. Also getting to see Xavier Woods at safety, Tyree Robinson at safety. This team has guys. The problem is
who they have in the slot.
Underachieve. Anthony Brown's going to be at the slot, and that's going to be the problem. Unless you move Jordan Lewis to that spot. But you need him outside. At some point, guys are going to start moving around. And I even look at the defensive tackles. I look at Taco Charlton playing a little bit of D tackle too. This team has talent. Randy Gregory is even a good player. He just can't stay off the weed. But
this team has had talent for 2 decades. Tired of hearing about this
can't make plays.
All right, so
this team has a good defense.
Let's take a quick look at the schedule, see where we think they're going to end up. So, they're right out of the gate. They're right out of the gate against the Carolina Panthers. They're at the Panthers right out of the gate. They have a bye in week 8, so they're going to the Panthers, home to the Giants. They're going out to see the 12th man in Seattle, home to the Lions, at the Texans, home to the Jags, and then home against division rival Washington prior to their week 8 bye. So what are you looking at from this team?
Get all the wins you can early. It's murderer's row late. Carolina, that's an L. Seattle,
I'm looking early, trying to see like how many they can get. I don't know how many they're gonna get early.
The Lions might be a win only because it's the Lions and Matthew Stafford's always coming back from a crazy deficit. But I see maybe one win here. The defenses. I mean, Seattle's defense, like we said earlier, Seattle's in the previous episode, Seattle's defenses, they lost a lot of guys, but it's still Seattle. They're going to be well coached. And by the way, Earl Thomas is back. And he might want to – the Cowboys didn't trade for him. Maybe he might be a little pissed off about that.
His heart is in Dallas.
Yeah. So you have two huge road games. The Giants won't be an easy one. The Texans on the road, the Jags at home, but it's still the Jags. And then you get Washington on the road before you go into a bye week before murderer's row of the Titans, the Eagles, the Falcons, the Washington, New Orleans, and Philly. And you get Indy smashed in there as a nice little consolation prize for getting banged up like that. Then you get
but even
Tampa,
that's a road game, and at that point,
that's a road game.
He's probably going to be not fighting for a playoff, but fighting for respectability.
Right.
So
and then you get Tampa, Jameis. What if Jameis is fighting for a playoff position? I mean, I don't think he will, but who knows? Crazier things have happened in this league. That's murderer's row from top to bottom because you're playing one of the best defenses or you're playing an offense that has one of the top offenses that has a defense that can complement it. I see maybe Indy, Detroit, maybe they always tend to split with the Giants. So maybe 4 wins here. This is a 4-win football team. That's not just me spewing my dislike for the Cowboys. I just don't see where the wins are coming. When you can't throw to the outside, this is a passing league. You can't run on 8 and 9 man boxes.
Okay, I'm gonna give them 6 wins, just because.
Where are your 6?
Yeah,
I'm just curious. Where are your 6 wins coming from?
There's a few mixed in there. I think they'll split with Washington. Maybe get one from the Colts, even though I said that your man might be playing for respectability at the time. I took the page down, so I don't have it up anymore. So give me 1 second. Give me 1 second to get back to this schedule. All right, so yeah, I think possible wins could come from the Lions, a split with Washington, so that's 2. Possibly the Titans. The Colts, and I think maybe a split with the Giants. Hey, if the Giants are as good as I think they are, then maybe that last game of the season won't mean anything to them. Just like they got a 6-0 win over the Eagles in the last game of the season this past season. they tend to get some gifts at the end. So.
This team, and for me, when I look at the precursor to this, really was. I saw a lot from this preseason. It got worse and worse as we went along. I mean, 49ers, you put up 21. Bengals, you put up 13, and then you put a meager 3 up against the Cardinals. Put a meager 6 up against the Texans. I don't see where the points are coming
third
from.
Stringers.
Yeah, I mean, where are the points coming from, mate? You might score 14 to 17 points a game at this point.
All right, we'll see. I mean, I'm not rooting for them. I want them to go 0-16. So let's go to the very last team of our preview, and you know who that is. Defending Super Bowl champions for the first time in history from that city of brotherly love. You know the song. You know it well. You know it about 5 times. So, let's talk about the Eagles, who finished last season 13-3 with the team's first Super Bowl championship in its history. Veteran additions, Mike Wallace, Marcus Wheaton, Richard Rogers, tight end Mike Bennett, Haloti Nada, Paul Warlow, Corey Nelson. In the draft, they went tight end with Dallas Goedert, Avonte Maddox, cornerback, defensive end Josh Sweat. Some of the losses in the offseason, running back LeGarrette Blount, running back Kenyon Barner, Torrey Smith, Trey Burton of Philly special fame, another tight end, Brent Selleck, Vinnie Curry, Bo Allen, Michael Kendricks, who's just got caught up in an insider trading a scheme, Patrick Robertson, cornerback, Corey Graham, Caleb Sturgis, former kicker and punter, Donnie Jones. So, they lost a lot of people for a team that just won the Super Bowl. But that's kind of par for the course these days. You win a Super Bowl, a lot of guys who are, whose contracts are expiring. They think, look, this is the highest my stock is ever going to be. I need to go out there, test the market, and do what I got to do. So anything I missed on the additions, the losses, the draft picks? We know there are some changes on the coaching staff because, like any other team that goes deep or even goes to the Super Bowl, their coaching staff kind of get picked apart. So you want to talk about some of those coaching changes for the Eagles?
Mike Groh takes over as the offensive coordinator. I don't think much changes. Seeing as Doug Peterson is really the guy there.
Right.
For me, I don't. The offense will be fine. As far as defensive changes, I think they've added in a lot of young talent. They've taken some chances on guys that they normally probably would never do. But when you have the ability to keep the core of your roster intact and add in veterans that have won a Super Bowl, by the way, so they know how to win. It's different when you're bringing in vets that maybe have not won anything, but you brought in 3 vets that have won something, and that goes a long way to helping build that core and continue the role that you guys were on. Because Lord knows, I'm worried about this team. Is kind of scary.
Which is interesting because I think they started last season with no expectations from anybody other than Fred Purdue. I'm going to still give you your props on that. I gave them to you all season last year. And with the start that they had, they were pretty much the favorites to be the NFC representative in the Super Bowl until December 10th. And yes, I know the date. I was there in Los Angeles when Carson Wentz went down. I tell you, Fred.
Stay away from Carson Wentz's games, man.
First of all, when I tell you that the stadium was 65% Eagles fans, and so just imagine how much green was out there in Los Angeles, and then imagine after that was a great game, and then he goes down, they still pull the game out, so you would think Eagles fans would be leaving the stadium happy, man, looked like a funeral procession leaving that game. So we all know what happened. Nick Foles steps in, and the rest is history. So with a lot of speculation on the offseason of them trading Nick Foles at his highest tradable peak, they held on to him. I think Doug Peterson wanted something that would absolutely blow their minds. But with the health of Carson Wentz, even though, he's pretty much ready to go, but they're going to sit him out. We know they're going to sit him out week 1. We don't know how long after that. I think it basically depends on how the team performs on Thursday night. This is a team that lost some of their weapons, but they come back with another deep threat to replace Torrey Smith with Mike Wallace. They drafted a tight end in Dallas Goedert to replace Trey Burton. They got Richard Rogers to replace Selleck. So I think you're pretty much right in saying, the offense is probably not going to miss a beat. You're going to have a bigger role for Jay Ajayi this season now that he's going to be the featured guy. So, yeah, I think the offense is going to be pretty good coming off of a Super Bowl win. I just don't know how long the hangover is going to last. I don't know when the offense is going to start to be good. And we know even though he had a Joe Flacco-like run in the playoffs in the Super Bowl, Nick Foles can be a little inconsistent at times. So, we'll see how he is to start the season. What are your thoughts on this offense?
I think this offense wants to run the football. They want to be physical up front. They have Jason Peters comes back, Big V at the other tackle spot. Also Lane Johnson, really good. You're fine at tackle. When you say you have three guys that can play left tackle and the other guy can just go play something else, yeah, you're good. You're more than good. Jason Kelsey and Stefan Wisniewski. This offensive line is an embarrassment of riches. Quite honestly, you're not.
Including my man Jordan Maleta, who's never put on a football helmet until this April.
Yeah,
my man,
exactly.
6'8",
exactly,
300 and some pounds. Yo, a lot of people are really impressed by how quickly this guy has picked up the game. But my bad, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was waiting for you to talk about our embarrassment of riches, and you got guys like this in 10-man line.
You can just slowly. You can literally slowly develop guys with this type of team. I look for Corey Clement to get involved now. Darren Sproles isn't a spring chicken anymore, so he's not going to be getting a ton of carries. Definitely want to see I want to see Nick Foles be a little bit more than just a one-hit wonder in the playoffs. Can he carry that over? Didn't look like it over in the preseason. But it is preseason. The main attraction is Carson Wentz. Aaron Rodgers, when you retire, this guy will be the best quarterback in the league. Just saying it now. You can get rid of that conversation, barring any other crazy injuries. He's the best quarterback.
What you mean? Dak is better.
Dak can't put it like this. Dak is the worst quarterback in this division. We're not even talking the NFL. He's the worst quarterback in this division. So the Eagles might have the out of all. I'll take Nick Foles and put him at 4, and we can say you guys have 2 of the 4 best quarterbacks in the division. So that's how I feel about that one. I think really the one thing that this team is going to have to get over early, complacency. You've won a Super Bowl, and now it's the mistake that teams make. They're happy with where they are. And are they hungry for more Super Bowls? Or are they just the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or somebody else has won one Super Bowl or been to a Super Bowl? Yeah, I'm calling Tampa out. Stick carriers, get at me on Twitter about that one. Are you complacent and are you guys just going to go into a tank? Or will you continue the success and be a team like the Packers, the Patriots, the Broncos, the Colts, teams like that, where year in and year out you're in contention. And I think I'm kind of leaning towards the other way, where I think this team is going to continue the success, especially on the offensive.
All right, well, let's look at the defensive side of the ball. They lost some key names, but they picked up some players, and like you mentioned, they picked up veterans who have experience in winning. They get a Michael Bennett, a Haloti Ngata, guys like that to step in where they actually lost people. You're getting some people back on the defensive end as well who got injured last season, and Jordan Hicks. The interesting part about this team is they kind of lost. They lost the best player almost on every level of their team last season. And of course, they lost their best quarterback. They lost their best offensive lineman. They lost their best linebacker. They lost their best special teams player, and was still, they still came together enough to do what they did. This is going to be a test because, you have to mix in these new guys. But I think mixing in newer guys who have some winning experience is much easier than just bringing in some big names who don't have much experience winning, or bringing in some young guys who have no experience at all. So it should be interesting. I think the defense will still be pretty good in 2018. The secondary, they were a young bunch last year who had their ups and downs, but they were pretty strong throughout the season. They didn't do much for us in the Super Bowl. Luckily, the offense did what they had to do. But, that's against Tom Brady. So some nights you expect it to be long nights. Sidney Jones is in the mix now, who was injured last season.
I was just going to ask you, what do you think about him? Where does he kind of fit into this now? He was expected to be the guy.
I know that the team is big on him. They were really big on him last season, so I think he is going to step in. I'm not saying he's going to step in and be the guy, but he's going to have the opportunity to step in and be the guy. They give him every opportunity to be that guy that they think he is. So he's definitely going to have to show and prove. And so far, so good, because they've been raving about him throughout camp and throughout the preseason. So what are your thoughts on this defense before we check into their schedule?
This defense has a guy at every level, whether veteran or a young guy, who now has a taste of a Super Bowl, and I think that's going to feed into this team early. I want to see Derek Barnett get a little bit better. I want to see the pass rush, because the one thing I said, he has short arms, and when you have a defensive lineman that's a pass rusher with short arms, that's always a big red flag. But I think he has the right guy to learn from, and Michael Bennett, who has just been a beast, a terror. You have
Derek Barnett always seems to
players.
pick up the fumble when somebody else causes it.
Exactly. That's a good thing and a bad thing. He's not causing the fumble, but he's in the right place at the right time. I also look at Fletcher Cox, one of the best defensive linemen in the league. Brandon Graham made arguably the biggest play in the Super Bowl. Damn you. Anyway.
Definitely did. He was like the only person in the game to make a defensive play, period.
Exactly. Brandon Graham made plays. I love Jordan Hicks. I've loved him since his days at Texas. Malcolm Butler probably made two big impacts. Throughout the season, he made his face and his voice known.
Malcolm Jenkins, not Butler. Patriots guy.
I'm sorry, Malcolm. That's the third time I've done this. I got 3 flags. I'd be hitting the bench if I was in a game right now. That's 3 unnecessary roughness penalties or something like that. Malcolm Jenkins probably made 2 big time impacts throughout the season. One, being an advocate for social justice, protesting the anthem, and it had nothing to do with the actual soldiers or anything that the media and idiot fans have some things to say about, but it has things to do with the right things we have to talk about, the treatment of all races of people, not just black people, but it is the focus of black people in this country, and the social injustice, police brutality, things like that. That's something for another podcast, but that is what he was had an open voice about. And also sending Brandon Cooks to heaven. We still haven't seen him yet. I guess we'll have to see him at the crossroads. All you hip-hop heads, you'll catch that one. But he made – those were his big impacts. And, by the way, he was the leader of this defense. Kind of in the mold of – I'm not calling him Brian Dawkins or anything, but he fits that role really well as he's the voice of that team. He's the heart and soul of that team. That's where they look to for their emotion, their fire. That's who they look to. And when you lay a hit like that on Brandon Cooks, yeah, you get a lot of respect. So for me, that's where I would stand on this defense. Really solid group, and I expect big things from them.
All right, so let's check out their schedule, as they try to make a run back to the playoffs, possibly back to the Super Bowl. They have a bye week in week 9, so they'll be starting off Thursday night at home against the Falcons. Then they travel down your way to see the Buccaneers, home to the Colts, at the Titans, home to the Vikings in the NFC Championship game rematches. I'm sure the Vikings can't wait to get back to. Then they're at the Giants, home to the Panthers, and then at the Jags before a week 9 bye week. The team does not have an easy schedule at all. No matter how you slice it.
Definitely does not.
So what do you
definitely
think?
Does not. The schedule looks kind of daunting early. You'll get a W week 2. Simply put, it's Tampa, no Jameis. I still might go to that game. Simply put, it's right in my backyard, and I want to see especially if Carson Wentz is playing. I've got to see this team. You get a easy win. I won't call it an easy win. No win in the league is easy, but The Colts presumably are not a great team compared to them. The Titans, I see a win there. So you can that first game, I don't know what to expect against the Falcons because the banners are coming out, and we know what happens when banners come out. It's a weird sense where teams come out flat. We'll see.
Right.
But I see 3 wins right there until you go into week 5 against Minnesota. That's going to be a tough one. You just don't know what to expect from Kirk Cousins and company. But if they can survive that, because this stretch of games from week 5 to week 8 before the bye week will be critical. You get Minnesota at home, Carolina at home, and Jacksonville on the road before you go into a bye week. You will need that bye week because those teams will beat you up. Of course, you're going to get a win against Dallas, so you can pencil that in. You can ink that in. The back end of the schedule isn't really as bad. You get the Saints, you get the Washington professional team. I want to see the game I circle on the back end of the schedule isn't necessarily the Saints. It's week 15 against the Los Angeles Rams. It's a Sunday night. It's going to be a Sunday nighter. So because the question is with the Rams wasn't their frontline guys, but their depth. Anybody gets hurt, that's going to be a problem. But if that team's full strength, look out because that could be a matchup that that could be a preview of the NFC Championship game. So for me, I look at this team and I think they're going to gut a lot of these wins out. They figured out how to win close games, and when you figure that part out, that's probably the toughest thing as a team to do. Figure out how to win close games. This team's going to be 12-4.
12-4. You know me. I'm never that optimistic about my team, man. I'm looking at this schedule, and I'm thinking 10-6. I'm still thinking, I haven't decided whether or not I think they're going to win the division, but I think 10-6 can win this division. So I'm going to go 10-6. I'm going to go 10-6 basically because of we know that they can win. I mean, it's been proven that they can win with Nick Foles, but, you still have a quarterback situation here until Carson Wentz is back. So I'm not going to be that overly confident guy. So I'm going to go 10-6. With the Eagles, but I still think they have a great chance at 10-6 pulling out this division and possibly getting hot when it counts. But we'll see. All right, man. So that's our league. That's the whole league, man. That's our preview. The only show we got coming left before you guys before kickoff on Thursday with the Falcons and the Eagles is our season predictions, where we're going to give you, our division winners, our wild card teams. We're going to give you our preseason awards. And we're going to revisit that in the midseason and, of course, when it counts at the end of the season. But we're going to give you our preseason awards, which is going to give you our thoughts on the upcoming season. So stay tuned for that episode. But, look, check out the episodes prior to this so you can get all of the preview. AFC and NFC West was the first show. AFC and NFC North was the second. AFC and NFC South was the third, and we just anchored it off with this show, the AFC and NFC East. So that's everything. Like we reminded you in the last episode, make sure you go to the War Room Sports Twitter feed. Make sure you go to the War Room Sports Facebook page so you can get the information about our Pigskin Pick'em game. So you can get in there and try to battle it out with everybody, picking games every week of the regular season and trying to win, that first prize. So, look, this is going to be an exciting NFL season. It's about to kick off sooner than you know. So, Fred, any parting shots before we let this one float off into the sea and go on to the next one before kickoff?
Parting shot. I know I have to be objective to that team in Dallas with the star on them, but I hope y'all go 0-16.
Yes. I think we all hope that. Shout out to America's team, though, no doubt. Make sure y'all stand for that anthem because Master Jerry don't play that. But anyway, this has been another episode of your favorite NFL football show, Cover 2 with McMillan and Purdue. From my partner, Fred Purdue. I'm Devin McMillan. Like we always tell you guys, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance, and we'll see you chumps on top.
Going up to LaFell. Touchdown. The fake screen. Sanchez over the middle. Touchdown. Play action. Cutler wide open. Sanzenbacher.
War Room Sports, www.warroomsports.com. What? Ain't no more to it.